recorded. So to begin, I would like to introduce the York International team. First, we have Eugene Lee, who is the International Student Experience Coordinator and oversees the Orientation and Transition team. As mentioned before, I'm Anika, and we also have another student coordinator called Tier. So by the end of this webinar, it is our hope that you students will have more knowledge on the unique characteristics of the Canadian post-education system, the various ways that students may be evaluated in their classes, the value of group work in the Canadian classroom setting, and also all the available academic resources that we have here at York University. In terms of the agenda for today, we will first start off with an introduction to the Learning Skill Services team. We'll talk about starting off strong. We'll have our question and answer session, and then we'll also go into some of our upcoming Career-Able webinars and events. So I'll start by introducing the Learning Skill Services team.
Hello, everybody. I am indeed the Learning Skills peer here today with you all. My name is Kat. I'm a third-year biology student at York, and I'm happy to be here, happy to, be on this learning journey with all of you. So to get started right off the bat, I will say you're going to need your phones for these or just a web browser that's open, just because we will have an anonymous Slido platform or an anonymous polling platform called Slido that you will most likely be asked to use many times throughout the course of this workshop. So you don't have to scan the QR code right now, but if you want to be prepared, definitely go for it. It's also going to come up on the next slide because I am about to ask you a question. So here it is. If the slides want to switch. No, there it is. Okay. So again, welcome. If you are comfortable, again, this is an anonymous polling platform. You can scan the QR code at the bottom left-hand side of the screen, or you can type slido.com into your web browser and use the keywords YI strong, and this will bring you to our Slido platform. If you feel comfortable, please share 1 to 3 words that describe how you feel about starting your studies at York University. I know some of you are probably going to say it's scary. Some of you might say excited. I'm out of words, but I'm ready to see all of yours. Intrigued. Okay, we got some curiosity here. We have a lot of people saying excited. Anxious, ready, grateful, nervous even. Okay, I mean, these are all really valid feelings. I can tell you that I also felt pretty much all of these feelings, except for maybe ready. I don't think I felt ready when I started at York, but definitely excited and a little bit nervous. Those were feelings running through my head. So very valid. Oh, we even got a happy. I'm happy that you're happy. Okay. So that was really great. Thank you for all the participation. I love it when people participate. You will hear me say it all the time. So I thank you so much for that. So now we're going to get into a couple of housekeeping things for learning skills and a little bit of introduction to us. And then we will get into 10 very useful tips to starting off strong at York University. So we already did a land acknowledgement. I am going to skip that, but I will tell you our agenda for today. We are going to go over a little bit of an introduction. We're going to go over some expectations of university learners. We're going to go through our 10 useful tips to start off strong at York University. And then I am going to introduce you all a little bit to York University's academic resources. And then we're going to wrap up and you can ask any questions at the end. So what to expect from this workshop in particular, as you may have seen from our first question, there is anonymous platforms used for polling. That's called Slido. And most of you seem to get the hang of it right off the bat, but there will be a QR code every time one of the question comes up. So just feel free to scan that and it will bring you back to our platform. Again, if you have any questions, there will be a time at the end. And overall, I believe that live captioning is enabled, if that is important for any of you. And then some guidelines for participation here, because we do care that you take care of yourself. So please do take care of yourself. You're going to be sitting here for a hot minute or a very long time, as I would normally say. So, take care of yourself if you need to, drink some water, be respectful while others are listening and speaking. I am aware that the chat feature isn't turned on, but even if that isn't turned on, it's still really lovely to be respectful while someone is talking. And also just know that anything that's said on our Slido platform is confidential, so nothing will be shared. Make sure you take those risks with your learning and ask those questions at the end of the workshop. I am more than happy to answer them. So is Anika and anyone else on this workshop. We are all here to help you and just be open to diverse viewpoints. So hopefully by the end of today's Starting Off Strong workshop, you'll be able to understand university learning expectations, list the senses of student success, which is the next section. I will go over it. And then also just name some of the York University academic resources that are here and feel more confident about your learning at York University. So we are one of the York University services. We are Learning Skills Services, as has been said many times. And what we do at Learning Skills Services is we help you build your knowledge and your skills and your confidence in a variety of different ways. And that is by building up your learning skills, such as, time management, procrastination, motivation, effective reading strategies, note-taking strategies, even presentation skills and group work. So we do a lot of really fun things to help you achieve your academic goals. And this is through applying the most effective study strategies and learning science that is out there. So when we at Learning Skills tell you, hey, these are some really cool tips to study, we aren't just saying that to tell you it. We are saying it because it has been scientifically proven to work. And then we also run a couple of different other services and programs aside from our workshops, like our Passport to Success program, which is a certificate that you can get after you attend 8 of our workshops. And we are open to all students, all years, all programs. You can come see us, attend one of our workshops at any time throughout your time here at York University. And we also do drop-in sessions at our tabling when you just need to come talk to someone. We have fun little games to play. You can come speak to one of us if you want to talk one-on-one. All of that is open. So on to some different York University resources here. We have the Learning Commons. And the Learning Commons is essentially the place that you will look at whenever you need pretty much anything academically at York University. Learning Skills Services is a part of that. We also have the Career Center in case any of you want to, have your resume looked at. They will definitely help you with that. And I believe they also help with interview practice. We have the Writing Center here, which is really great if any of you have to eventually write a paper that you're super nervous about, because I do believe that university papers, they're a little different than high school papers or just maybe papers that you've written in the past. So the Writing Center will not steer you wrong. They will only help you. We also have Health and Education in case you need a little bit of well-being coaching or things like that. Those services are open. We also have the English Second Language Open Learning Center And this is a really cool place to strengthen your English speaking abilities. They have a lot of fun events like one-on-one talking sessions as well as group talking sessions. So that's always super fun. In case any of you are in need of some math and science help or just math help in general, the SNAC, which is like our Student Numeracy Center, will definitely be able to help you with that. And then we also have the libraries as part of our Learning Commons. So if you ever need to look up any academic resources or academic sources in terms of a research paper, things like that, that is where you would go. They even have information on citing, actually that's Spark, that's in the bottom corner here. Spark is for academic research, and that is, they will tell you how to cite your sources correctly so that you do not get caught for plagiarism, essentially. So now we're going to get into what is expected of university learners. Before I tell you what's expected of university learners, I would love for you to answer this Slido question. So what do you think is expected of university learners? Again, for anyone who might have just shown up, please scan the QR code on the bottom left-hand side of the screen or type slido.com into the browsing platform that you have opened, and then use the keyword YI strong. That will bring you to our platform. But I'm seeing some responses come in. I see time management being expected of university learners, consistency, get work done. Definitely getting work done is expected of a university learner. You are going to have a lot of work to do, but don't worry, Learning Skills Services is here to help. Yeah, you're definitely expected to get an education. You are expected to succeed, but remember that success is it's subjective. Whatever success is to you is what you are going for at university in terms of that. Responsibility definitely is expected of a university learner. Becoming well-rounded, definitely. Participation, of course. All of you seem to be doing a great job in participation. I will say I'm very happy about it. I see 2 more participants typing, so I'm going to give like 10 more seconds and then I'll move on. Humaneness, yeah, you got to be human. Take initiative is definitely important. Active participation for sure. These are all really great things that are expected of university learners. Leadership is another good one. Wow, you all came up with really great things that are expected of university learners. I am proud of this Slido question. So thank you all for participating in that. It was really great. We are going to try and get into the senses of student success. Thank you. I don't think I switched that slide, so thank you to who did that. These are the senses of student success. There are 5 of them. And overall, having a good balance of these senses throughout your years at York will help you succeed in the way that you want. So there's a sense of connectedness, there's a sense of resourcefulness, there's a sense of purpose, and there's a sense of capability. And then finally, there's a sense of culture. So if you use all of these senses in connection with each other, you will probably have some sort of student success. And when we say connectedness, we mean to, the institution, we mean to people here, we mean to, the staff that's here, we mean to your, different campus clubs and your faculty, things like that. That's how you stay connected. And we'll get a little bit more into that. Those are all part of the tips. Also, we want you to have a sense of capability. You're here, you made it this far, and you also got into the university. That's a big feat already. So it's important to note that you are capable of doing this because you've been doing it. And as much as university is different from high school, you have skills that you've previously made that will come in handy. And any skill that you don't have, there are so many university resources that you can use, which then takes us to a sense of resourcefulness. So this is, your university life interface? Are there resources that you can use to, strengthen your abilities or your skills at university? There's also a physical environment. Do you know what building you're going to? I hope you do. We have maps, I promise. They're a little complicated, but you'll get them. And things like that. And then it brings you to a sense of purpose. You're all here for a purpose. And that is to get a higher education for whatever life goal you might have. So it's a good idea to keep that purpose in mind. You don't want to come here and just say like, I'm here, I'm going to get a grade and I'm going to get out, because that does take away your sense of purpose. When you believe that you're doing this for your success, whatever goal you might have, that is how we have that sense of purpose. So this is kind of the bread and butter of our presentation, the 10 learning skills tips for starting off strong at York University. But before I start telling you all of these lovely tips, I would love to know what actions you can take to feel more connected to the York University community, because that is actually our first tip, to be connected to the community. So how do you think you can go about it? And then after I get some of your responses, I will tell you a lot of different ways to get involved. Yeah, participate is definitely important. Participate in class, participate in, clubs and networking events, definitely. We actually have a lot of networking events depending on the clubs that you're in. Get acquainted. Oh, someone joined the NSA club. That's cool. I honestly didn't join a club until second year, but it was a very good idea, and I wish I had done it in first year. So if any of you haven't signed up for a club yet, we got a lot of them. I'll get into it. Yeah, connect, take advantage of their resources, definitely. This is all really great. So I got a list of things too, in case, your Slido list was not comprehensive enough for some of you. I do have quite a bit of things to say. Yeah, student organizations as well. So thank you for participating. That was really great. I am going to need someone to click the slide. Does not seem to go. Thank you. Thank you. So, step one, or tip one, is to build your community, as I might have mentioned. So sorry, my slide clicker does not seem to be working. So there are a lot of things on this slide if you want to just keep going while I talk. Thank you. So yeah, we can reach out to your classmates and instructors. Say hello. Maybe it's really scary to say hello on your first day, but when you sit down in your first class, at least say hi to one person. I feel it's a good option. They can kind of, guide you into it. You'll have someone to talk to. Ask those questions to your professors and TAs, and use your professor's office hours. We also very much so encourage you to use and join student clubs and organizations. And we have so many of them. One of you mentioned the NSA club. We have 350 clubs at York University. There are so many to choose from. I'm not quite sure where the link is, but if you look up clubs at York University, there's a page that just has all 350 of them. I'm personally a part of 2 of them, World Vision and the Women Empowerment Club, in case any of you are interested in joining that. And also get involved in your college. So your college is associated with your major or your faculty. So I am a faculty of science, which means that my college is Bethune College. However, if you are, there's Atkinson College. Actually, I don't know if that's college. Maybe it's not. But we have Stone College, things like that. We have 8 entirely. I'm not going to lie to you right now and tell you that I know the names of all 8 of them. I only know Bethune and Stong. But there's a couple of them. Each of you are in one. You're automatically put in one when you accept your university offer as your major. So take a look at that. It's a really great place to get in touch with people that are in your major. They do their own things. There's a formal every year for most of the colleges, I believe. And it's just a great way to get socially interacted with people who are like-minded. And we also encourage you to take advantage of all of those campus resources that I mentioned at the beginning of the workshop. So definitely take that into account when you're thinking of things to do and how to get involved. The second tip that we have is for you to be familiar with your new environment. You have been to schools, obviously, but this is a new place for you. And so you kind of have to get a feel for both the official rules and the unofficial rules, or the unwritten rules. So I can tell you one of our unwritten rules here is that York University does not sell bottled water on campus. So you do have to like bring your own reusable water bottle or your own water bottle in general, because there's nowhere for you to buy one on campus. But we have lots of fountains all across campus. And we also have this sense of culture being at the center of our student success model. So building that culture around your university is really important. So I know that I can't ask you this question, but as a little bit of a reflection question, what can you do to learn about York University's culture? Maybe you can do some research. Maybe you can ask alumni. I don't know if any of you are on LinkedIn, but I'm pretty sure even if you ask a random person on the sidewalk here at York, they could probably tell you a little bit about York's culture. I mean, I'm here. I've been here for 3 years. I can tell you a little bit about it. York is actually a very fun place. There's a lot of really good people here and a lot of really knowledgeable and great professors here to help you along the way. It's overall really welcoming, I found at least, especially if you interact with those clubs and even all of the services that York University has to offer. If you interact with us, we are so excited to hear from you that it is genuinely such a welcoming environment. The third thing that we deeply, and I mean deeply, encourage you to use is your course syllabus. This is part of every course. So no matter which course you enroll in, every single course at York University will have some type of outline to it. And this is called the syllabus. And this is essentially your course roadmap. So it has all of the important information. It's got the learning outcomes, it's got assignments and deadlines, it's got the expected behaviors that you're supposed to display while you're in class. If I don't see a professor ever saying this, but sometimes professors are like, save your questions till the end, or don't double email me if I don't respond in, less than 48 hours. So they give you like those kinds of timelines and things like that. So it's really, really important for you to kind of keep this somewhere safe. Maybe you want to print them, maybe you want to download them and put them all in a file somewhere on your computer. Maybe you want to print them, put them in a document or like a folder, a physical folder. Those are all really great, but essentially this is going to be your best friend because it's going to have pretty much all of the information you will ever need about the class, in terms of even like testing deadlines and, just etiquette in general. It will have the professor's email written in it. It will have the location of your class for that year. It will have a lot of different things in it. So essentially, it's your best friend. Please look at it. Don't just look at it on the first day and like glance at it and go like, okay, cool. Most of the professors will kind of give you a walkthrough of the syllabus, but like use it. It's a good thing to use, and you can use it to like fill out your own calendars, things like that. The next tip number 4, is to be an active and self-directed learner. And self-directed does not mean alone in your learning. It just means that you take that initiative and kind of guide yourself on the path you need. So actively participate in class. Maybe you don't have to answer all of the professor's questions, because sometimes that can be nerve-wracking and sometimes you don't know the answer, and that's okay. Not everyone knows every answer. But even actively participating in class can mean like taking notes. Like, don't just sit there. Your brain isn't a sponge. You have to actually take notes and actively listen to what is being said. Even when you're studying, don't just sit there and reread your notes. actively do something with the information while you're studying. And we actually have an entire workshop dedicated to those study strategies that are active things for you to do. Take ownership of your own learning. And that is, take pride in it. That is your learning. And it matters to you. Again, as I said, self-directed does not mean alone. You have so many campus resources at your fingertips. And when I say so many, I mean, I listed like at least 6 different resources, but there's more than that. There's more than just those 6. And each of them does something really amazing for students. So take advantage of those. If you feel that you need help, if you feel that you're nervous, it's okay to ask for help. And now we're halfway through. We're at tip number 5, and this is to engage in deeper level learning. So university isn't about memorization. I don't particularly know what maybe you've done in your past schools, but university is very prominent or heavy in understanding concepts and using them and applying them and connecting them to other things. And that is what we call deeper level learning. It's not just a memorization where you walk in and you just spew knowledge onto a sheet of paper and that's that. So we have these different levels of Bloom's taxonomy, which is essentially all the different levels of learning. We have remembering, which is your baseline. It's where you start. That's memorization. Then we have understanding, which is actually making sense of the information. And you can kind of tell when you understand something if you can paraphrase it. So definitely try that if you're trying to understand something. And then with that understanding, you can go a step further and apply that information and that understanding of whatever concept was taught to you to a new information. So a graph, an example that I like to use for applying things is if your professor shows you a graph in class and it's got, x-axis as time and the y-axis as distance, whatever that means, I think it's from physics. And then on the test, they show you a similar graph. You will know how to read that graph because you knew how to read the one that was taught to you. And now you're applying that knowledge about reading this particular graph to your test. And now you know how to read the graph. And then there's also these last 3 levels, which is analyzing, creating, and evaluating. So evaluation just means to critically examine the information and kind of make your own opinions about it. Pick out what maybe you don't agree with and why you don't agree with it. Analyzing is taking apart that information and exploring all of the different relationships between the concepts in your class or something of the sort. And then creating is using that information, that understanding, to create something new with that information. So I have a quiz break for all of you. There are going to be, I believe, 4 questions on Slido. So I would love for you all to join the quiz. I believe right now it's going to ask you for a username. So join the quiz. Beautiful. Love seeing the names come up. I'm going to wait a couple more seconds. I know that there are more than 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of you in this call or on this webinar. And I hope that more than 6 of you will want to participate in these quizzes because they're kind of fun. But don't worry, they're not marked or anything. This is just for fun. All right, I see 7 people have joined. I'm gonna give like 10 more seconds to get your usernames in. All righty. So I believe you can join at any time if you scan the QR code. So we're going to move on now to the question. So which strategies are examples of active learning? And remember, when I explained active learning, I said you were actively doing something with your notes. So I'm just curious to see what that means to all of you. We have a couple of different options here. We have connecting ideas. We have rereading your notes, teaching the concept to another person, doing practice problems, and then we have copying whatever the professor says word for word. I think 7 of the 10 people in the quiz answered. Now we're at 8. You can pick more than one. Alrighty. Nope, I can't change the slide. Thank you. So a lot of you said connecting ideas, teaching the concept to another person, doing practice problems. I cannot scroll down either. And none of you said copying what the professor says word for word. That's really great. I love that none of you said that. So if we can tap the screen again, it will bring us to the answers. So there were 3 answers in this question. Connecting ideas is a great way to actively do something with your learning and use that understanding. Teaching it to another person is also doing actively something with that information, and doing practice problems is really great in terms of active learning. However, rereading your notes is not. Maybe if you want to study your notes in that, you can make a mind map, because that would be actively doing something with your notes. So our next question is, which of the following are examples of deeper level learning? So this is that slide on Bloom's taxonomy, in case that jogs anyone's memory here. But our options are understanding complex ideas, finding and assessing evidence to address important questions and problems, remembering definitions, looking at things from different viewpoints, and then connecting and applying ideas. I'm seeing the answers flow in halfway there. Alrighty, let's open up the responses. So a lot of you said understanding complex ideas. A couple of you said remembering definitions. A lot of you said finding and assessing the important questions, connecting and applying ideas, different viewpoints. Perfect. Let's see the answers. Thank you. So yeah, all of these except remembering definitions is an idea or an example of deeper level learning. So thanks. A lot of you did really well. We got 2 more questions to go. So right at the beginning of this workshop, I did mention 5 student senses of success. So of this list, I would love for you to pick out whichever ones are one of those 5. We have resourcefulness, purpose, proficiency, culture, connectedness, capability, and ability. This one might be hard. I talked about it, I don't know, like 10 slides ago. That's far away for me. Alrighty, let's move on. Oh, wow, lots of answers across the board. Okay. So let's see the answers here. We have purpose, we have resourcefulness, we have culture, we have connectedness and capability. Those were our 5. Most of you did get them very correct. So thank you so much for participating. We got one last question, I believe. Oh no, there were only 3 of them. I lied to you. Sorry. Okay. So we are going to move on to tip number 6, and I'm going to just check to see if my control is working. It does not. So this is where we focus on not just what you learn, but how you are learning it. And it's very important in terms of, bettering yourself for the future. So we have this metacognitive cycle, which we ask you all to follow along with. And it has 5 different steps to it. We can start off by assessing the task. And that means that, let's say you were assigned an essay and you have the prompt, you have the due date, you have, how long it has to be. Those are all of the requirements of your essay. And that is how you assess the task. You look at all of those things, what you have to do. And then with that information, you will then move on to step 2, which is plan your approach. Planning your approach is pretty personal to you. Maybe you have a sense of study strategy or timing that you like to use for essays specifically. So maybe you would put that in place. But overall, you would, say, okay, I'm going to work on this essay for 1 hour every day until the deadline for 2 weeks. And that's how you're going to finish it. Now, I would honestly try and be a little more detailed than that in it, like really plan it out, do timelines, maybe make study blocks for it. Maybe you want to specify, okay, like I'm going to have the first draft done by, the first week, and then the second week, I'm going to work on the polished copy, things like that. Give yourself detail, give yourself those very specific goals, because that's what's going to get you where you want to go. Then you're going to actually act out your plan. So for those 2 weeks, you're going to follow that plan. You're going to hand in that essay. And then you're going to reflect on all of the different things that are going on. So how did you feel after handing in that essay? How did you feel while doing everything? Did you feel like you had enough time? Did you, do you feel confident in your work? Do you feel that it worked well for you? Those are all really important questions, because even if you did really well on that essay, but you were really uncomfortable the whole time while writing it, like that's not something we want. So we want you to find your happy medium of like, I can do well and still be comfortable. That's what the reflect portion is for. And then your feedback. So this is where you would get the mark back, you would get whatever essay you got, and you could potentially ask your TA or your professor for feedback on how to improve. If they say that your thesis statement wasn't, good in any type of way or didn't meet the standard of what is expected of a university learner, then you can take that and say, okay, you know what? I'm going to go to the writing center next time. And that can be part of the plan your approach in your next cycle. And you will just keep doing this cycle until you find what works for you. Because at the end of the day, we want you to work with your brain and with your body. The next thing, the next tip number 7, is to manage your time in university. A lot of you said this right at the beginning as what is expected of a university learner. So it's important to know that learning takes time. It's not going to happen all in one day. So not all learning takes place inside the classroom. And when I say that, I mean, you have a lot of notes, you have a lot of readings, maybe you have asynchronous videos that you have to watch for a specific class, maybe you have discussion questions for your tutorials. All of that happens most likely outside of the classroom, but you still have to do those readings. You still have to do those discussion questions because it's still part of your learning. And I will say your readings are important. Please do them. I think I have to say that again somewhere on a slide in the future, but I'm going to say it now anyway. Your readings are important. And so in saying this, there is a lot of things that you do outside of your 3-hour lecture time, and that means that you have to plan ahead. Use a schedule. It's really helpful. We have templates on our Learning Skills website if you are interested in looking at that. But maybe you buy one of those little notebooks. Maybe you use Google Calendars. Maybe you use Apple Calendars. But write down those due dates that were in your syllabus. Plan out when you're going to study for things. Don't fill every single second of your day with productivity, but make sure you have a little bit of structure. Because honestly, when life gets chaotic, and I'm going to tell you now, university is going to get a little chaotic sometimes, okay? Exam season is chaotic. There's no getting around it. But what you can control is not the fact that it's going to be chaotic, but how you manage that chaos. And there are really great ways to manage the chaos, I promise. We also, I mentioned at the beginning, we have a time management workshop that will kind of teach you tips and tricks into how to manage that chaos. So if any of you are interested in it, I would be so happy to see you there. But our 8th tip is to build your academic reading and note-taking skills. Now, I will be completely honest with you, note-taking, and specifically academic reading was something that I did struggle with a lot when I started university, just because that wasn't expected of me in high school. I didn't have to read a textbook in high school. But when you come to university, you are expected to read pretty dense textbooks sometimes, especially depending on your major. So it's important to note that academic reading and note-taking is part of the learning process. Again, it's super important that you do those readings because it does deepen your understanding. And sometimes in the readings will cover topics that the professor doesn't cover, but will be tested. And don't worry, the professor's not going to like trick you if they tell you to read a certain section of the book. It's important. Like, they're going to test you on it, but they're not going to test you on something random from the book that they didn't tell you to read. That would be ridiculous. So don't worry about that. Just do what they tell you. So yeah, it's super important to stay on top of your readings and notes. And academic reading can be challenging. Sometimes the textbooks are really dense, as I said. But if you want to build those academic reading skills and those note-taking skills, we can help as well at Learning Skills. We have an entire, we actually have 2 workshops dedicated to this topic. We have one about academic reading and we have one about note-taking. I will say that I attended the academic reading one because I am dyslexic and reading comes very hard to me and I was very scared. So I did go to that one in my first year and I found it to be very useful. I use a lot of the tips that they told me now. And I have to read a lot of really dense biology textbooks all the time, and they seem to be working for me. I'm doing pretty okay. So if that's any consolation or that makes you feel any safer about coming to them, please do. They are very useful if you put those techniques to use. So tip number 9, we love tip number 9 because I feel that a lot of university students do not have a growth mindset, but approach your learning with a growth mindset and it will significantly help you in terms of your well-being and even your productivity and your overall success at university. So success or failure are not predetermined fixed identities for you. When you come to university, you kind of get to create your own identity. And the way that you think about yourself and your abilities does somewhat hinder or increase your abilities at university. So don't walk in and say, oh my gosh, I'm going to fail. This is so hard. What am I going to do? I can't do this. Of course you can. You've been doing it for all of, high school, whatever you've been doing up until now, you've been doing it. You've been doing life perfectly fine. And you're going to continue doing it because you're capable of it. You got into the university. So have that confidence in yourself. Don't say, I'm never going to be good at this. Say, I'm not good at this yet. There is a power to that word yet, and it gives you that hope, that motivation. And that in itself allows you to kind of open your mind and be open to those new learning concepts that are being taught to you that kind of seem a little complicated right now. Another thing to do is don't view challenges or hard things to do as a threat. That makes you anxious. That makes you nervous. It's a scientifically proven thing that if you view something as a threat, your anxiety is going to spike. What you want to do is view it as a challenge, something that you can overcome. So definitely don't be scared about it. It can be scary, but I promise you have it. And if you find yourself not having it at any point, we are here to help. Again, I will consistently say this. Another important thing in the growth mindset is just to celebrate your effort. You're here, you're doing it, you're putting in that effort. You have some type of strategy. Maybe you're still building it, and there's always room for progress. You don't want to, again, think that you're never going to be good at something. You want to think that you can always get better at something. You can always grow. And that brings us to our last tip of the day. And this is to prioritize your well-being. As I said, if you are fearing something, your anxiety is going to spike. And anxiety does not make anybody feel good. Nobody likes it. So this is very essential for academic success. And how we like to describe this is our little wellness wheel on the right-hand side of the screen. There's a lot of different things in it, such as your emotional well-being, your physical well-being, your spiritual well-being, your environmental well-being, your academic well-being, your financial well-being, your social well-being. There's so many different types of well-being, but they're all interconnected with each other. And the reason that we represent this as a wheel with little triangles in it is, let's say right now, all of these things are very, well done. You have good physical well-being. You have good emotional well-being. You have good on all the well-beings. That wheel is going to spin very nicely. It's going to roll. If you, push it down a hill, it's going to go and it's going to go very smoothly. But let's say that you remove your, physical well-being out of the top. Now you have this big empty space. How is that going to roll down a hill smoothly when there's just a big empty space? It's not. It's kind of like you have a flat tire. So it's all interconnected, which means that you kind of have to pay attention to everything all at once. But as long as you are staying healthy and giving yourself balance between all of them and not neglecting a specific part of that wellness wheel, your wheel is going to roll perfectly fine. So yeah, school can be stressful. And maybe you are going to put a lot of focus into your academic well-being. You want to do well here, and that's perfectly valid. That's a really great idea. I would love for you to do well here. But you can't put all of your time and energy into just studying so that you can do well. It's not going to be good for you in the long run. You want to make sure that you're happy, that you have some sort of social life. And that doesn't mean going to parties and going out every night and, whatever that is. But it means just having a person to talk to, things like that. So if you have any questions about that, you can always ask me, but there is a link that was just sent in the chat for the student counseling, health, and well-being. So we are going to skip these quiz questions just for the sake of time and get to the wrap up, which will have another set of questions soon. So let's just do a quick recap here. There are 10 different tips that we've talked about. We talked about building your community. We talked about getting to know your environment. We talked about your course syllabus and how important it is, being self-directed and an active learner, engaging in a deeper level of learning, reflecting on your learning, how to manage your time, building that academic reading and note-taking skill set, and also just approaching your learning with a growth mindset and prioritizing your well-being. So I am going to say, take a gander at this question while I open the chat. All right, so we are at the Starting Strong wrap up. This is where you would, talk about some key takeaways that you've had at this, at this time here today. I know I talked a lot. There will be time for you to ask your questions. Don't worry, I'm here to answer pretty much everything. And if I can't answer it, someone else can. All right, take difficulties as challenges. Definitely. A challenge is something that you can overcome. It's not impossible. Plan ahead. I love planning ahead. I'm such a to-do list person, or a calendar person. My calendar is always pristine. because it reduces my anxiety. So that's always fun. I see 3 participants typing. I see 1 participant typing. All right, yeah, continue to be active within our university and community. Perfect. I will tell you right now that being active within the community is so important. Don't just come here and say like, I'm just here for the grade. It will not be fun. You will not have fun here. I did that first year. I regret doing that first year. I'm living life now. I have a job at the university. I am in clubs. I've had good working relationships with professors because I actually speak to them. They're people. Talk to them. They want to be talked to. I also see learning strategies, the power of yet, connectedness. Yeah. Deeper level learning, staying healthy and balanced. These are all really important things. So thank you so much to all of you who participated. I'm also seeing that you do have a better understanding of what is expected of you as a university learner. That's really great. I'm so happy that you have that understanding. And then we can move on. I believe there are like 2 more after this, but they're working right now. So, all right. So thank you for joining us. I lied. There's not 2 after it. There should be. But yeah. So thank you so much for listening to me speak for about an hour. I hope you enjoyed it. But I can definitely answer any questions you have during the Q&A. If any of you want to scan the QR code, feel free to scan it. That's our feedback form. So if I did something you liked, let me know. If I did something you didn't like, let me know too. We want to improve always. So this is the end here. We don't normally go over these, sorry. There we go.
Thank you so much, Kat, for all the information that you shared, and thank you everyone for participating. Now we have the Q&A session, so any questions that you have regarding all the resources and the really, really good tips that you got, you can ask your questions using the Q&A feature, and then Kat or myself or anyone else who's able to answer of our team, then we'll definitely give you any answers. So you could go ahead, use the Q&A feature and type in your questions.
Okay, so I am seeing one question come in here. Any tips for keeping your calendar accurate and tracking everything? So what I like to do personally is you look at your syllabus at the beginning for each of your classes and you input those really important dates. Like if you have a midterm on a specific day, you put that in your calendar first. Get those baseline things going. And then another thing I like to do is input my class times as well. Your class times don't normally change. They're set for the entire semester or the entire year, depending on if you're taking a semester or year-long class. So that is essentially you want to put in the things that don't change. And then in between there, if you have a job, maybe when you get your work schedule for that week, you put those into your calendar then. And you slowly build it. I would also suggest using different colors. Don't make everything one color. So make school one color, make work one color. If you want to put in study sessions, we also would recommend that to put like specific study sessions in during the times that you work best. Those can be another color. If you join any clubs and you have a club meeting, make that a different color. Have that color coding. It really helps. Keeping it accurate just means staying up to date with it. Like if you have a date get changed on you and one of your professors says, actually, you know what, I'm moving this midterm, don't leave it in your calendar, like change the date. So just keep up with that and do the things that are most likely not going to change first.
Thank you so much for answering that, Kat. And we have other questions in Q&A, but Kat will type the answers for those questions while we go through our upcoming webinars and events. So the first thing that we have coming up is our YI meetup, where you have a chance to play tons of fun games with other international students as well as staff here at York International. So if you'd like to join that, you may scan the QR code and join us for the YI meetup. We also have our Global Peer Program May drop-in, and for the Global Peer Program, it's really a chance for you to connect with other international students here at York by having a mentor and being able to ask them any questions that you might have, any tips and tricks that will help you in your university life and your journey here at York. And this will be on Thursday, May 23rd. We also have our pre-arrival webinar coming up, Traveling to Canada. It is our Wellness and Safety in Canada. We always have a lot of questions about safety here, so this is a really good webinar for you to join if you want to know about how York University will help to keep you safe as a student. We also have our community event for the Global Peer Program. So it is similar to the drop-in event that we have, but with a community event, you really have a chance to learn more about York based on a topic. And this topic that we have coming up is academic resources at York, and all the links are placed in the chat for you to register. Another webinar that we have coming up is Building Your Timetable, which is a really, really good webinar for you to join because we have had a lot of questions about your timetable and your syllabus and all that. So this is a good webinar for you to join to learn how to create your timetable for York. We also have our event calendar for you to register for any upcoming events that we have, as well as any appointments that you need. You just scan the QR code and the event calendar has all the dates and you're able to register for the events. We also have our social media. You can follow us to keep more updated with all the things that are happening here at York International. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining today's webinar. We hope you took a lot of information away, and we'll see you at the next webinar.